My name is Rowan Hale, and the night my family erased me smelled like oil rain and burnt metal. Our house sat behind my father's garage, a gray box with one flickering light that never stopped buzzing. When he told me I couldn't go to college because we can't fund 2 futures, he didn't even look up from the invoice book. My sister Eden was their future. I was just the invoice they were ready to write off. Mom didn't cry or argue. She opened the drawer, took out a wrinkled grocery receipt, and wrote 2 words across the back with her blue pen: "Be independent." She folded it once, pressed it into my hand like it was mercy, then turned away. That was the last time she touched me. The screen door slammed, and the sound of it seemed to cut the air in half. I stood on the porch with my suitcase, my acceptance letter from Columbus Community College, already damp at the corners and the ink beginning to blur. The rain hit hard enough to sting, but it couldn't drown the silence that came after the door closed. I walked to the end of the driveway because there was nowhere else to go. The garage light behind me buzzed like a trapped insect, and for the first time I realized how small that house really was and how big the world felt when no one was waiting for you inside. That receipt is still folded in my wallet. It used to mean exile. Now it reminds me where the story began a night in Lorimer, Ohio, when my parents chose one daughter's promise over the other's breath. And all I could think, standing in the rain, was how to turn those 2 words, "be independent," into a life worth proving. The rain didn't stop until morning, but by then I was already on the bus out of Lorimer. My suitcase sat damp beside me, half soaked, half erased. The driver didn't ask where I was headed. I said Columbus, though I had no dorm, no plan, and barely enough for a one-way ticket. All I carried was the letter that said "Congratulations" and a crumpled grocery receipt. I reached downtown before sunrise. The sky looked bruised, and so did I. I spent one night at the terminal pretending to read another outside a laundromat, clutching my bag, until a man's voice broke through the traffic. "You okay, kid?" He was older gray under a trucker cap, a face that had lived. I couldn't answer. He handed me his jacket and called 911 before I could stop him. Under hospital lights, the nurse clipped a tag to my wrist. Name Rowan Hale. Address unknown. That word stung more than the fever. The man David Reed left orange juice and a 20 on my tray. "She'll need it more than I do," he'd said. 2 days later, they discharged me with a pamphlet for a women's shelter, wedged between a pawn shop and a coin laundry. "One bed, one lock, one chance," the woman at the desk said. That night, lying on a clean cot smelling faintly of bleach, I thought of my parents' garage, the noise of tools, my mother's neat handwriting on that receipt. They had their map Eden and college dad in the shop, Mom with the books. I was just the static between. But as the rain faded to drizzle, something small and stubborn inside me stirred. Maybe independence wasn't punishment. Maybe it was the first true thing they ever gave me. Mornings at Rios Diner began before sunrise, smelling of burnt toast coffee and quiet determination. I'd found the help wanted flyer on the shelter board edges curling. When I showed up, Gloria Rios eyed my damp hair and fading hospital band. "You ever wait tables?" "No, but I learn fast." She tossed me an apron. "Start with the syrup bottles. Last a week, I'll pay you." That was her version of mercy. The first shifts nearly broke me. Aching arms, blistered feet, and impatient customers. But I found rhythm in the noise plates, clattering, register snapping, dishwasher ticking like a heartbeat. If I could match the tempo, I could survive. By the second week, I'd started organizing lining condiments by expiry sorting invoices, jotting notes on napkins. Gloria never said much, but I caught her watching, curious whether I was obsessive or efficient. Then came Miles Carter, the delivery driver. Sun-browned, easy smile. "You sort things like you've done this before," he said. "Just makes sense to put things where they belong." He nodded. "You've got a head for systems. Don't waste it." That night I redrew the delivery schedule on the back of a menu line's arrows order in the chaos. Gloria found it the next morning, studied it, then tucked it into her apron. "Keep thinking like that," she said. "The world's a mess. People like you keep it moving." Something inside me eased. For the first time since Lorimer, someone saw not what I'd lost, but what I could build. The diner's silence no longer felt empty, it felt steady. A rhythm I could call my own. The day I walked into Northline Logistics, the warehouse smelled of diesel and cardboard raw alive. Forklifts buzzed like insects, the air thick with motion. My resume was printed on the back of a diner invoice. Tom Whitaker, the manager, flipped through my notebook of hand-drawn inventory routes. "You really drew these?" "Every night after closing," I said. He studied me. No degree, no references, but a sense for order. 90 days. Don't make me regret it. It wasn't a promise, just a door cracked open. I spent the first week silent, memorizing the docks, watching the machinery of trucks and pallets. Beneath the chaos, I saw rhythm, the same bottlenecks, the same delays. By week 2, I started rearranging the schedule board, color-coding shipments, sorting arrivals. The next morning, everything moved smoother. Tom noticed. "You changed something," he said. "Sorted by arrival time. You cut unloading time by 14%. Not bad, Hale." That night, I opened a new spreadsheet on the old desktop, Atlas Ops 001. It felt like a map my map. Weeks blurred. I learned to read bills of lading, route charts, and driver restrictions. My hands smelled of ink and diesel, but for once I didn't mind. One evening, as the crew clocked out, Tom stopped at my desk. "You ever thought about leading a team?" I laughed. "People like me don't lead." "Maybe they should," he said. "Bring me a 90-day plan how you'd fix this place." When he left, the screen blinked, waiting. 90 days. Once that number meant survival. Now it meant possibility. By the time I left Northline, Atlas Ops 001 had become a blueprint for turning chaos into order. Tom called it a gift for systems, but really I just knew how to see the cracks and mend them before anyone noticed. When I packed my desk, I took the diner-stained notebook that started it all. Portland felt like a risk worth taking. I rented a small office above a print shop and hung a paper sign, Atlas Ops Lab. It wasn't a company yet, just me and an overheating laptop, but the name felt right, like I was finally holding something up instead of being buried beneath it. My first client was the candle studio run by 2 sisters. I built their system in a weekend. They paid me in cash and cinnamon candles. Then came a bakery, then more word-of-mouth jobs. Soon I could afford a used desk and hire Maya Chen, calm and precise, to help part-time. Each morning I unlocked the door and looked at 2 frames on the wall, my hospital tag and my mother's old receipt. Beneath them I'd written, "Every system deserves a second chance." We worked until the presses below blurred into heartbeat. I never advertised. I just fixed what was broken. Then one Monday Maya came in, tablet in hand. "New applicant for operations coordinator," she said. "Strong record. Names: Eden Hale." The air stilled. "She's applying here?" I asked. Maya nodded. "Decline?" I looked at the yellowed receipt under glass. "Be independent," the ink still faintly visible. "No," I said. "Schedule her for Tuesday, 9 sharp." When Maya left, I sat in the hum of the city. 5 years, 1 receipt, and a lifetime of silence had led to this. Somewhere my parents still believed I'd vanished. They'd never imagined their golden daughter would walk through my door asking me for a chance, and this time I'd be the one behind the desk. The rain in Portland has its own rhythm, soft, relentless, patient. That Tuesday it started before dawn and never stopped. I arrived early, the office quiet except for the hum of the heater and the drip from the window frame that always leaked, no matter how many times the landlord promised to fix it. The framed receipt and hospital tag glinted under the gray light. I straightened the papers on my desk twice, then told myself to stop. At 9 sharp, Maya knocked once before opening the door. "She's here." "Send her in." The click of heels on the wood floor echoed like a memory. When Eden stepped inside, she looked exactly as I remembered. Composed, careful, glowing, in a way that said she was used to being seen. Her hair was pinned the same way Mom used to fix it before her school recitals, not a strand out of place. For a moment she didn't recognize me. She smiled politely and extended her hand. "Good morning, I know who you are," I said. Maya introduced us formally anyway, unaware of the history hanging between us. "This is Rowan Hale, founder and operations director of Atlas Ops Lab." The name landed like a dropped glass. Eden froze, her hand still half extended. "Hale," she repeated softly, voice unsteady now. I gestured to the chair across from me. Please have a seat. She obeyed, her eyes flicking toward the wall where the frames hung. She didn't comment, but I saw the flicker of recognition, the receipt, the handwriting she must have seen 100 times on grocery lists and permission slips. We started the interview like strangers. She spoke about project coordination, crisis management, and leadership under pressure. Her words were polished, practiced like armor. I let her talk, nodding occasionally, asking short questions that made her dig deeper. When I asked, "Tell me about a time you had to handle conflict," she hesitated only for a second. At my last company, there was a staff dispute. I made sure everyone got what they deserved fairly. Fairly, I repeated. That's an interesting word. What does fairness mean to you? She blinked, uncertain whether it was a trick question. It means making sure everyone gets the same chance, she said finally. Everyone, I echoed. Her gaze drifted again to the wall, and I saw the exact moment it hit her. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed again. When she finally spoke, it came out in a whisper. "Rowan, I thought you were—" Gone, I finished for her. I was. For a while. I didn't know they— This isn't about the past, I interrupted, keeping my voice steady. This is a professional interview. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. "You've done well," she said softly. "So have you," I replied. "You've learned to sound sincere." The silence stretched, filled only by the rain whispering against the window. For a second, the old ache stirred in me, the one that used to beg for apology for recognition. But it passed. Maya returned just as Eden gathered her folder. "We'll be in touch," I said. My tone was even formal, professional. When the door closed behind her, Maya lingered. "She's qualified," she said quietly. "I know. What do you want to do?" I looked out the window. The rain streaked the glass in silver lines. "Check her references," I said. "If everything holds up, we'll talk." But deep down, I already knew the truth. The interview wasn't about hiring. It was about seeing if forgiveness could stand without collapsing into pity. Maya's background check came back 2 days later. Eden hadn't lied, just stretched the truth, turned 6 months into 18. Not unforgivable, just familiar. Maya looked uneasy. "Do we reject her?" I studied the report. "No. Conditional offer, 90 days probation, full compliance training reviews every 30, and have her fix the resume." "Serious. Fairness isn't comfort," I said. "It's consequence." When Eden came to sign, she said quietly, "You didn't have to give me this chance." "I didn't," I replied. "But I want to see what you'll do with one." She worked hard late nights, flawless reports never slipping. The others liked her calm. Only I noticed the hesitation between us, pauses too long to name. Then a storm hit grounding Spokane shipments. Our biggest client was at risk, half the quarter's profit on the line. Maya was calling backup carriers when Eden came in with a plan. Split loads, reprioritize routes, handle the rest manually. "You'll take responsibility if it fails?" I asked. "Completely." It worked. The goods arrived at dawn, every name credited on her report. Her hands trembled as she said, "I'm learning." I know I told her. That night, Mom's name flashed on my phone. I let it ring, then silence. I finally understood that boundaries could be their own kind of peace. 90 days later, Eden earned her role, not from mercy, but merit. On her first day, she brought me a folded paper. "Found this while unpacking," she said. It was a photocopy of the old grocery receipt. "Be independent." "You keep it," I said. "It's yours now." That weekend, I drove to Lorimer. The same metal bench waited under the flickering roof. I slid my hospital tag beneath it. Unknown address it once read. Not anymore. Mom called again that night. "Rowan? Are you safe?" I am. A pause, fragile and long. "We were wrong." "I know." There was nothing left to fix, just space for the ache to quiet. When I returned to Portland, Eden was already at her desk. "Morning," I said. "Morning," she answered, almost smiling. I turned on the lights. The hum filled the room. For the first time in years, home felt right. Not the place I'd left, but the one I'd built piece by piece, rule by rule, breath by breath.